Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a scenario that I think, well, every single person listening has faced probably hundreds of times.
Hmm.
And yet it never really seems to get any less terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. It is the absolute gatekeeper of social interaction.
It really is. Like, picture this. You are at a party, or maybe a networking event, or even just meeting a friend's new partner at a bar. You have your drink in hand, you make eye contact, you smile, and then bam.
The dreaded question.
Exactly. The question. They look right at you and say, so what do you do?
It seems so incredibly simple on the surface, just four little words.
Right, but I feel like for so many people, especially if English isn't your first language, or honestly, even if it is, this moment just brings this sudden wave of intense pressure. You just freeze up.
You do. It is a high-pressure moment because it is often the very first impression you make on someone professionally.
You suddenly feel like you have to justify your entire existence in one sentence.
Yes.
It's like, who am I? Do I even matter in the grand scheme of the universe?
And the tricky thing is, because it is such a universally common question, we often just go on autopilot. We mutter a basic job title and try to move on as quickly as possible.
Which is a huge missed opportunity.
Exactly. There's so much more potential in that interaction. If you stumble here, you lose a bit of authority, but if you nail it, you instantly open doors.
And that is exactly what we are digging into today. We've got a stack of really practical source material here that focuses entirely on mastering this specific type of job talk.
And we are aiming for something much deeper than just memorizing a dictionary definition of your job title.
Right. We are looking at the psychology behind how we introduce ourselves. We want to help you move beyond those robotic answers and actually describe your career naturally.
We're going to cover how to talk about your daily grind, your specific routines, and even your long-term dreams for the future in a way that feels completely authentic to who you are.
Because the ultimate mission here is for you to sound well-informed, confident, and natural. Not like you are reading bullet points off a resume.
Precisely. The goal here is genuine connection, not just recitation.
So what exactly are we looking at today?
Well, the source material we are pulling from covers the full spectrum of professional introductions. We are going to start with the absolute basics, some fundamental grammar rules that act as your foundation.
But we aren't just going to give you a grammar lesson.
No, we are really going to analyze why those specific rules matter for your professional image, and then we will get into the nuance of modern workplace vocabulary.
Oh yeah, all the fun modern slang, things like hybrid work, the intense pressure of tight deadlines, and how to talk about your job satisfaction without, accidentally getting fired.
Which is a highly critical skill in any language.
Highly critical. So buckle up. Whether you are prepping for a massive interview tomorrow or you just want to sound a bit more put together at the next dinner party, we have got you covered.
Let's dive right in.
Okay, let's start at square one. The exact moment the question is asked. So what do you do? What is the most fundamental, standard way someone should answer this?
The most direct structure, and honestly the one you will hear 90% of the time, is the I am structure.
Just I am?
Yes. It is simple, it is bold, and it firmly claims your identity. I am A, or I am an A.
It's interesting because it links your job directly to your being. It's not I do marketing, it is I am a marketer.
Correct. It functions as an identity statement. And because it is so incredibly short and powerful, the grammar in that tiny sentence really has to be perfect.
Right, because if you mess up the grammar in a three-word sentence, there's nowhere to hide. It is very noticeable.
It is. So let's unpack that little tiny difference there between using A and N.
I feel like this is one of those things that people know in theory, right? Like they learned it in grade school. But when they are nervous or speaking quickly to a native speaker, it just flies completely out the window.
It often does. And while it seems like a microscopic detail, getting it wrong can actually be a subconscious distraction for the listener.
So what's the core rule outlined in our material?
The rule is entirely about the sound that follows the article. It is about the physical flow of speech. If your job title starts with a consonant sound, you use A.
Consonants being those hard sounds, like T, B, P, D.
Exactly. So the source gives us a very clear example. I am a teacher.
I'm a teacher. Key is a consonant. Easy enough.
Yeah.
Or I am a doctor. I am a writer.
Perfect. The A provides a tiny short beat before the hard sound of the job title. It sets it up perfectly, but the trouble usually comes with the vowels.
Right, to the vowels. A, E, I, O, U.
If the job title begins with a vowel sound, you absolutely need to bridge that gap with an A.
Like the classic example from the text, I am an engineer.
Yes. An engineer. I want you to really listen to the difference here. Try to say that sentence, but use the wrong article. Try saying, I am a engineer.
Okay. I am an engineer.
Wow, yeah, you have to completely stop talking for a second. That's like a weird little hiccup in the back of my throat.
Exactly. Linguistically, that is called a glottal stop. It sounds clunky and it breaks the entire rhythm of the
It
sentence.
feels uncomfortable to say. It is. But when you say an engineer, it physically connects the words. It flows smoothly like a river. An engineer.
And building that credibility is key here, right?
Yeah.
We aren't just trying to please the grammar police for the sake of it.
Not at all. It is about something called cognitive fluency. When you are introducing yourself, you desperately want the listener to focus on what you are saying, your value, your role, your expertise.
You want them thinking, wow, this person is a great engineer.
Exactly. But if they have to subconsciously process a stumbling, broken sentence, their brain gets stuck on the how of your speech instead of the what.
That makes so much sense. So getting that tiny article right, A versus an S mirror, it builds immediate linguistic credibility.
It does. It signals to the listener on a subconscious level, I am educated, I am fluent, and I am in total control of this conversation.
So I'm an accountant or I'm an architect. It just sounds so much smoother.
Much smoother.
Yeah.
And much more authoritative.
Okay, so I am a teacher or I am an engineer is the gold standard for claiming that identity. But let's say I want to spice it up a bit. Or maybe I just don't want to define my entire soul by my day job.
That is a very valid feeling.
Right. Like, I am a teacher feels very final. It's encompassing. How do we level up to something that sounds a bit more professional? Or maybe just a bit more detached from our personal identity?
That is a great instinct to have because while I am is about identity, sometimes you really just want to emphasize the function or the role itself.
Especially in a strict business setting.
Exactly. That is where we introduce the phrase, I work as.
I work as. Okay, how does that actually differ in feeling from I am?
It is a subtle shift, but it is a highly meaningful one. Instead of saying, I am a designer, you say, I work as a designer.
I work as a designer. You know, you're right. Just hearing it out loud, it immediately sounds slightly more formal.
It does. It creates a little bit of healthy professional distance. It makes it sound like you are describing your specific function within a much larger ecosystem.
I see that on LinkedIn profiles all the time, actually.
Yes, it is very common in professional bios. It adds a layer of polish. It essentially says to the world, this is what I do for a living, rather than this is the entirety of who I am.
I really like that framing. It feels less like you are labeling your soul and more like you are highlighting your professional contribution.
And it is exceptionally useful if you have a job that maybe isn't your permanent life passion.
Oh, totally. Saying I work as a waiter sounds very different than saying I am a waiter. It implies you might be an actor or a student on the side.
Exactly. I work as implies a role you are currently fulfilling. It leaves plenty of room for your other identities to exist.
But here is a bit of a curveball based on how the economy is changing right now.
Okay, what is it?
Well, a lot of people just don't have a traditional boss anymore. The whole gig economy is huge. So if I am sitting at home making graphics for 5 different companies, or I'm writing code for 3 different startup founders, I can't really say I work as a designer for one specific place.
That is a huge part of the modern workforce. You are absolutely right. We are seeing a massive shift away from that traditional single-employer model.
So what do those people say when asked what they do?
In that case, the most accurate and professional term is self-employed.
Self-employed?
Yes, it literally means you are your own employer. You are the boss of yourself.
Is there still a stigma attached to that? Or is it considered cool now? I feel like it used to be a cover-up phrase.
You're right. 10 or 20 years ago, self-employed sometimes sounded like a polite euphemism for unemployed. But today, it is a genuine status symbol for many professionals.
Because it implies autonomy.
Precisely. It shows you have the drive and skill to manage your own career. Another very common term, specifically for people who do project-based work for various companies, is freelancer.
Oh, I love that word. I am a freelancer. Or I work as a freelancer. Both of those work, right?
Yes, both work perfectly.
But freelancer just sounds so liberating. I mean, the word free is right there in the name.
It is a great word. It immediately signals independence to the listener. It tells them, I manage my own time, I choose my projects, and I likely have multiple income streams. It is a very valid, highly professional answer.
Okay, so we have the role locked down, we have I am, we have I work as, and we have the independent options like self-employed.
Right.
Now, usually the very next thing people want to know, especially if they're secretly trying to figure out how much money you make, let's be honest, is where you actually do this magic.
They always want the context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I want to drop a name, maybe I work for a big fancy company and I want to brag just a little bit, how do I connect my job title to the company name grammatically?
This is where prepositions become absolutely vital. And I will say, English learners often struggle right here because prepositions rarely translate directly from other languages.
They are so tricky. So what is the magic word we need here?
The word is for. You work for an entity.
For. Okay. Not at and not in.
Well, you can say you work at a place, like I work at the bank, but that usually refers to the physical location itself.
Ah, I see.
When you are naming the actual organization, the brand, or the corporate entity for SAP's utmost professional standard, it implies a formal relationship of service and employment. You provide value for them.
Got it. So looking at the example from our source material, I wouldn't just say, I am a marketer. I would expand that and say, I work for a global marketing firm.
Perfect execution. I work for a global marketing firm.
That sounds so robust.
It is a power sentence. It does 3 distinct things at once. It tells me your action, which is work. It tells me your relationship, which is for. And it tells me the scale and prestige of your employer, global marketing firm.
It sounds infinitely more impressive than just mumbling a solitary job title. It gives the listener a whole world to picture. Global marketing firm sounds way better than just, I work at a company.
Context is everything in these introductions. If you work for a small family business, you might proudly say, I work for a local family business.
Which paints a really nice picture of community and trust. Exactly. But if you say, I work for a tech giant, that paints a completely different picture of fast-paced innovation and scale. You are actively framing how people perceive you in that moment.
Okay, so we have firmly established who we are. We have established who signs our paychecks. Now I want to get into the real nitty-gritty of the conversation.
The specific details.
The details.
Yeah.
Because usually after you say, I am an accountant, people will nod politely, but they don't actually know what you do all day.
They just imagine a vague montage of calculators and coffee.
Right. They picture spreadsheets and a lot of typing, but the reality is often so different. We need to talk about how to describe the daily grind.
The daily grind. I really love that phrase. It refers to the routine, the repetitive nature of the standard workday. It's the stuff that either grinds you down or the stuff that keeps the gears of the business turning.
Exactly. What actually happens between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And I think this is where learners often get super tripped up on their tenses.
They definitely do.
They start trying to use really complicated grammar structures to describe very simple daily things.
You hit the nail on the head. The most common mistake people make is thinking they need to use the present continuous tense. They say things like, I am checking emails to describe their overall job role.
Right. But that's wrong. What should they use?
When we are describing a job description, a regular routine, or a set of ongoing responsibilities, the strictly correct tense to use is the present simple.
The present simple. Just to clarify, why is that exactly? Why not continuous?
Because in my head, I am checking emails right now while we talk about this.
Yeah.
It feels continuous.
It's a great question. It is because the present simple fundamentally implies habit, repetition, and a sense of permanence.
Okay, I'm tracking.
If you say, I am checking emails,
Yeah.
the grammar implies you are doing it right now at this exact second, and crucially, that you might stop doing it in 5 minutes. It is a temporary state.
Huh. But my job isn't temporary. Exactly. If you say, I check my emails, present simple, it means this is a standard, unchanging part of your professional existence. It is an established fact of your job. It happens every single day.
That is such a brilliant distinction. It is essentially the difference between a fleeting action and a core responsibility.
That is a perfect way to summarize it. I check emails as a responsibility. I am checking emails as just an action you are taking right now. When you describe your job at a networking event, you are describing your responsibilities, not your current physical actions.
So if I want to structure a summary of my day for someone I just met, I am deliberately using the present simple to show that this is my normal, reliable life.
Correct. So let's look at the basic time-based structure the source provides. It usually starts by setting the boundaries of your workday.
Right. The source gives us a classic standard example. I start work at 9 a.m. and finish at 5 p.m.
Listen to those verbs. I start. I finish. They are simple, direct verbs. There are no endings attached to them.
It sounds very crisp and professional. I start at 9.
It subtly implies punctuality, reliability, and a solid routine.
Okay, so we have set the bookends of the day. Now let's fill in the middle with the actual work. The text gives us some really relatable common tasks.
Let's run through them.
Let's do it. And maybe you can tell me why these specific verbs are so good to know. Because I feel like choosing the right action verb can really change how important your job sounds to the other person.
Without a doubt, verbs are the absolute engines of your sentences. They carry all the power.
Okay, first one from the text. I check my emails.
Check. It is a highly crucial verb. It doesn't just mean passively reading words on a screen.
What else does it mean?
It implies active monitoring, reviewing information, and responding to issues. It is a critical maintenance task. Literally everyone does it, from the top CEO down to the summer intern. Using it shows you are plugged in and communicative.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Next one up. I attend meetings.
Attend. Now, this is significantly better than saying I go to meetings.
Why is that? Go to means the same thing, doesn't it?
Functionally, yes, but stylistically, no. Go to describes mere physical movement. I go to the store. I go to a party.
But I attend a meeting.
Exactly. Attend implies a formal, required presence. It implies that you are an active participant and that your presence there is valued and necessary. It immediately sounds more professional and serious.
That is a great tip. And here's the big one from the list. I manage projects.
Manage. That right there is a true power verb.
It sounds heavy.
If you put the word manage on a resume or use it in casual conversation, it instantly implies deep responsibility, oversight, and control over outcomes.
But what if you aren't the boss? What if you were just managing a really small part of a larger project? Can you still use it?
Absolutely you can. Even if you're just managing the office supply inventory or managing the weekly coffee order, using the verb manage automatically elevates your perceived status.
It makes you sound essential.
It does. It suggests that if things start to go wrong, you are the capable person who is going to fix them. It fundamentally suggests leadership.
Contrast that with just saying I do projects.
Exactly. Compare I do projects with I manage projects. Do is entirely passive and generic. Manage is active, specific, and highly authoritative.
So we have I check, I attend, and I manage. These are essentially the foundational building blocks of a solid professional description.
They absolutely are. Together they cover the big three: communication, formal presence, and leadership.
Now here is where it gets really interesting for me as a communicator. I love telling stories. I think humans are just naturally wired to respond to stories.
We certainly are.
And just listing cold facts. I start at 9, I check email, I attend meetings, I finish at 5. It can get a little dry. It kind of sounds like a robot giving a status report.
It can definitely sound robotic if you aren't careful, and the last thing you want to do is bore the person you are actively trying to network with.
Right. So the source material suggests a fantastic little phrase to turn this dry list of tasks into an engaging narrative. And that phrase is, a typical day at work looks like.
A typical day at work looks like. This is a brilliant bridge phrase. It signals to the listener that you are about to stop listing facts and start painting a picture for them.
I love the visualization aspect of looks like. It literally invites the listener to see your day in their mind's eye. It turns your mundane job into a little movie scene.
It sets the stage perfectly for a narrative.
Let's do a quick role-play breakdown here to show exactly how this works in practice. I'll use the podcaster example from our text.
Go for it.
This is what I might say if someone at that party asked me about my day. I'd say, a typical day for me looks like planning content in the morning and recording audio in the afternoon.
Notice the smooth flow there. You didn't just dump a list of disjointed tasks on me. You gave those tasks a clear timeline.
Morning for the planning phase, afternoon for the recording phase.
Exactly. It gives the listener a real sense of the daily rhythm of your life. It makes you sound incredibly organized and purposeful.
And it feels so much more natural to say. It feels like I'm sharing a genuine slice of my life rather than reciting a job description.
It transforms data into conversation.
So what about a different example, say, for a teacher? How would a teacher use this structure?
For a teacher, using that exact same narrative structure, they might say, a typical day looks like preparing lessons and grading homework.
Preparing and grading. There are those strong action words again. But wait a second, we actually switched grammar rules there, didn't we?
We absolutely did. I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah, earlier when I said I check emails, it was just the base verb check. But just now, we both started saying things like looks like planning or looks like preparing. We added the ing suffix to the verbs.
Sharp ear. This is a really important grammatical shift to understand. When you use the specific phrase looks like, you are using a prepositional phrase.
Okay, grammar time.
And in English, we very often follow prepositions with the gerund form of a verb.
The gerund being the ing words.
Correct. We use them because in this context, they actually function as nouns that describe the activity itself. So you say, a typical day looks like planning, recording, preparing. You are describing the overall activity of planning, not the immediate action.
Oh, that is such a great practical grammar tip. So it has to be looks like planning, not looks like plan.
Precisely. If you said looks like plan, it would sound very broken and jarring to a native speaker. Looks like planning is smooth and grammatically sound.
Okay, so we've thoroughly covered what we do all day, but the conversation often shifts to where we do it, and the where has changed so drastically in the last few years.
It is almost unrecognizable from a decade ago.
I mean, 5 years ago, the word office universally meant a physical building downtown with a water cooler and terrible fluorescent lighting.
And bad carpet.
Always bad carpet. But now, office could mean my kitchen table, a beach cafe in Bali, or a shared co-working space downtown.
It has been a massive seismic shift in corporate culture. The physical landscape of the workplace is completely different, and consequently, our professional vocabulary has had to evolve rapidly just to keep up.
And if you don't know these specific modern terms, you might accidentally agree to a job situation you absolutely hate.
You really might. So let's look at the 3 big modes of work that the source highlights. Obviously, we have to start with the traditional baseline.
Office-based work.
Yes, office-based. This is the classic historical model. You wake up, you commute, you enter a commercial building, and you sit at an assigned desk.
You are physically present in the building 100% of your working time.
Correct. It is location dependent.
Then we have the one that completely exploded recently, mostly out of necessity, remote work.
Working from home, or really, as you said earlier, working from anywhere with a Wi-Fi connection.
Quick question on that. Is remote exactly the same thing as saying work from home? I hear people use them interchangeably.
They are very often used interchangeably in casual chat, but remote is definitely the broader, more professional corporate term.
How so?
Work from home, or WFH, usually just describes the physical location of your laptop on a given day. Remote describes your actual contractual status with the company. It means you are not legally required to be in a central office at all.
Got it. And then we have the messy middle option, the one that every single company seems to be trying to figure out and argue about right now, hybrid.
The hybrid model. This is becoming increasingly common across all industries. It is, as the name suggests, a mix of both worlds.
So maybe you are required to be in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you are at home for the rest of the week.
Exactly. I feel like hybrid is an absolute buzzword you simply have to know right now.
Oh, totally. If you are sitting in a job interview and the hiring manager asks, do you prefer a hybrid schedule? And you just stare blankly because you don't know what that means, it is going to be incredibly awkward.
It shows you are out of touch with current industry standards. And crucially, the word hybrid implies negotiation.
Negotiation how?
It implies that there is a strategic division of labor. There are designated days for in-person collaboration at the office and designated days for focused, deep work at home. Understanding this specific term shows employers you understand modern workflow dynamics.
Speaking of being in the office, let's talk about the vibe, the atmosphere of the place. Because just saying I work in an office is pretty boring. I want to be able to describe how it actually feels to work there.
You want to paint the emotional picture.
Exactly. Is it a super fun, creative place? Or is it a miserable corporate dungeon?
We definitely need some strong adjectives for this. The source contrasts 2 main overarching vibes that you'll encounter: formal and informal.
Okay, let's start with formal. When I hear that, I immediately picture crisp suits, complete silence, very expensive, uncomfortable furniture.
You have the picture perfectly. Formal implies a strict, unyielding dress code, usually suits and ties. It heavily implies a rigid corporate hierarchy.
You have to call people sir or ma'am.
Sometimes, yes. There are likely many established rules and generally a much quieter, more serious atmosphere on the floor. Think of traditional banks, prestigious law firms, or old-school corporate headquarters.
Stiff. Very stiff.
It can be a bit stiff, yes. But it's important to remember that it also implies a space that is potentially very professional, highly organized, and efficient.
Fair enough. And then on the other end of the spectrum, informal.
Informal is the exact opposite. People are wearing jeans, maybe even t-shirts. It is a highly relaxed environment.
Beanbag chairs everywhere.
Probably a few, yes. It suggests that the company culture is focused much more on the actual creative output than on traditional outward appearances.
Like Silicon Valley startups?
Exactly. Tech companies and creative agencies are famous for this informal vibe.
I definitely prefer the informal vibe. I just work so much better when I can wear sneakers.
Many people do.
Now, within those offices, there is a specific term about the physical layout that everyone seems to absolutely love to hate. Open space.
Ah, yes. The infamous open space office.
What does that actually mean in practice? Because it sounds kind of nice and airy.
It refers to a massive, sprawling office floor with absolutely no physical walls between the desks.
No private spaces at all.
None. No high cubicles, no private offices with doors, just long, continuous rows of desks in one giant, echoing room.
It sounds so great in corporate theory, right? Like management says, look at all this collaboration, so much transparency. We are all one big happy team without barriers. But in reality,
In reality, as any worker will tell you, it creates a very specific set of daily challenges.
namely noise.
Constant noise, unending visual distraction, a complete lack of personal privacy for phone calls or deep thinking.
So if a friend tells you, oh, my new job has an open space office, they're essentially giving you a warning about their stress levels.
They're implicitly telling you that they had to buy very expensive noise-canceling headphones just to survive the day.
Right. But from a vocabulary learning standpoint, it is a key descriptive term. If you say, I work in an open space office, the listener immediately and fully understands your daily environment.
Exactly. It paints a very specific, universally understood picture of your daily reality.
Okay, let's pivot slightly and move on to what the source material brilliantly calls survival vocabulary.
These are the absolutely essential terms. If you were magically dropped into an English-speaking corporate office tomorrow morning, these are the exact words you absolutely must know just to function.
These aren't just vocabulary words to memorize for a test. They are core concepts that run the entire business world.
Literally to survive the workday without causing a disaster.
Okay, survival keyword number 1. And this one strikes absolute fear into the hearts of procrastinators everywhere. Deadline.
Deadline. This is the specific, unmoving time or date by which a given task must be completely finished.
The word dead is literally right there in the front of the word. It sounds so intensely serious. Is it actually life or death?
In a corporate sense, it certainly feels like it sometimes. Interestingly, the historical etymology of the word actually comes from the American Civil War.
Really? How so?
It was a physical line drawn around a military prison camp, and if a prisoner crossed that line, they would be shot. So it was quite literally a deadline.
Wow. Okay. Note to self, do not ever cross the deadline.
In modern business, it implies extreme urgency and strict boundaries. You will often hear the phrase, I have a tight deadline.
Tight deadline. That is a really good natural collocation to learn.
Yes, it means the available time to complete the work is very short and stressful. If you miss a deadline in the professional world, there are real cascading consequences. It negatively affects other people's workflow.
So understanding the weight of this word is crucial.
Beyond crucial, because it dictates all your daily priorities. If your manager says the deadline is 5 p.m. and you mistakenly think deadline just means it would be nice if you finished around 5, you are going to be in massive trouble.
Huge trouble. You might be looking for a new job.
Exactly. You also need to know how to talk about your status regarding them. You can say, I can meet the deadline, which is positive. Or, I might miss the deadline, which is negative and requires a very good excuse prepared.
Okay, survival keyword number 2. This is about the people sitting next to you. We have 2 words, colleague and coworker. Is there an actual difference? I hear native speakers use them interchangeably, literally all the time.
They are very similar, and yes, they are often used interchangeably in casual, everyday speech. But there is a distinct nuance if you want to be precise.
Let's get precise.
Both words refer to the people you work with, but colleague can sound slightly more formal, elevated, or respectful.
Oh, so.
It very often refers to someone who is in your exact same profession or holds a similar level of expertise. For example, a senior doctor refers to another doctor in the hospital as a colleague.
So it's more like a professional peer.
Yes, a peer, whereas coworker is an incredibly general term. It refers to literally anyone who happens to work at the same company as you.
So the receptionist by the front door and the CEO on the top floor are technically coworkers.
Exactly. But they probably wouldn't refer to each other as colleagues in a traditional, strict sense of the word.
So for an English learner trying to navigate a party, what's the best strategy?
Honestly, you can use either one safely. but opting to use colleagues sounds just a bit more sophisticated and professional?
Okay, so if I want to sound a little fancy and important at the networking event, I will say my colleagues are brilliant.
Exactly. It elevates you and the people you work with.
Survival keyword number 3, client. This feels like a big one to get right.
This is a highly critical distinction to master.
Oh,
A client is absolutely not your boss, and they are not your colleague.
who are they?
The client is the external person or the external company that is actually paying for the service you provide.
They are the ultimate money source, the person you have to keep happy at all costs.
Exactly right. If you are a freelancer, you don't have a boss, you have clients. If you work for a marketing agency, you serve various clients.
The power dynamic is totally different.
Completely different. With a close colleague, you can openly complain about the terrible office coffee. With a client, you have to be perfectly polished and professional 100% of the time.
So treating a client like they are just a casual coworker could be a massive mistake.
It can ruin the business relationship. Being too informal with a client is dangerous, so knowing that definitive boundary is vital.
And finally, survival keyword number 4. This is something we all desperately want, especially if we have kids or hobbies outside of work. Flexible hours.
This term really ties back directly to the whole hybrid work concept we discussed earlier. Flexible hours generally mean you have some level of personal control over your daily schedule.
So literally choosing your own start and finish times for the day.
Yes, within reason. Instead of being locked into a strict 9 to 5 grind, maybe you choose to work 10 to 6.
Or maybe you take a really long break in the middle of the afternoon to go to the gym, and then you just catch up on work later in the evening.
Exactly. Being able to say, I have flexible hours, is a really great thing to share. It strongly implies to the listener that you have achieved a good work-life balance.
It sounds so healthy.
It is a very positive term to use when describing the specific benefits of your job.
But I do feel like I need to warn people. Sometimes a company offering flexible hours is actually a bit of a trap.
Ah, yes. The dark side of flexibility.
Right, because sometimes flexible hours just becomes corporate code for, we expect you to be perfectly willing to answer our urgent emails at 9 p.m. on a Sunday.
It is very true. Flexibility can easily become a two-way street that mostly benefits the employer if you don't set boundaries.
Indeed. Speaking of the dark side and setting boundaries, that naturally brings us to the emotional side of these conversations.
The feelings behind the facts.
Exactly. We have covered all the hard facts so far. The job title, the daily tasks, the office layout, the vocabulary. But eventually, in any good conversation, someone is going to ask the slightly more personal question.
The one that requires a little bit of actual vulnerability.
Right. They're going to look at you and say, so do you actually like your job?
Do you like your job? That can be a very dangerous question to answer honestly sometimes.
It really is. Because if you immediately say, no, I hate it, you instantly bring down the entire mood of the party. You become the negative person.
Yeah.
But if you say yes with way too much fake enthusiasm, you just sound insincere.
It requires a highly calibrated, strategic answer. You want to come across as honest and relatable, but you also absolutely must remain professional.
You are constantly curating your public image.
Exactly. You can't just say, my boss is an absolute nightmare and I cry in my car.
Well, I mean, you can, but probably not to a stranger you are trying to network with.
Definitely not if you want to make a positive, lasting impression.
Yeah.
Openly complaining makes you look difficult to work with.
So let's look at the strategic positive responses first. If you actually do love your job, what are some strong, impactful adjectives our source suggests using?
One of the absolute best words you can deploy here is rewarding. My job is rewarding.
Ooh, rewarding. And I really like that word. It sounds deep. It sounds almost spiritual.
It is a profound word. It implies that you get something tangible back from the work. Deep satisfaction, a sense of real purpose. It communicates that your motivation isn't strictly just about the paycheck.
Like teachers, right?
Yeah.
Teachers often say their job is incredibly rewarding. Doctors, too, or social workers.
Yes. It means the massive effort they put in is worth the positive result they see in the world.
It is a word with real heart. Another positive option I really like from the text is the combination phrase. It is challenging, but fun.
That is a phenomenal balance to strike. Saying it is challenging shows that you are actively pushing yourself. It shows you aren't just sitting around bored all day, you are growing.
But adding the but fun part shows you actually enjoy the difficult process.
Exactly. It makes you sound like an incredibly motivated, resilient worker. Employers love hearing the word challenging from a candidate. It signals that you aren't afraid of hard work.
Now let's go to the dark side. Let's look at the negative or neutral responses. Let's say the job is just, hmm, or honestly, it's actually bad. How do we communicate that reality without sounding like a total complainer?
The safest strategy is to focus your complaint on specific, relatable logistical aspects rather than attacking the whole job or the people. You compartmentalize the negativity.
How does that work in practice?
Well, instead of saying, I hate my job and everything about it, you might soften it by saying, it's a bit stressful sometimes.
Stressful. Okay, that is a universally understood, safe complaint.
It is entirely socially acceptable to be stressed out. In fact, in many corporate cultures, implying that you are stressed subtly implies that you are working very hard and are important.
That's a great point. Or you can use the ultimate safe complaint and blame the logistics. You can say, the commute is just too long.
Ah, the commute. That refers to the daily travel time between home and the office, correct?
Yes, the driving or the train ride. Why is complaining about the commute such a brilliant social hack?
Because the commute is the universal common enemy of all workers. Everyone universally hates sitting in traffic. Everyone hates standing on crowded, delayed trains.
It's so true.
If you complain about your boss, the listener might secretly wonder if you are actually the problem. But if you complain about the horrible commute, everyone immediately nods in sympathy and says, oh, I know, the traffic on the highway is terrible right now.
It instantly bonds you with the listener without making you look bad at your actual job. Oh, the work itself is great, but the commute is a killer. It is the perfect strategic complaint.
It really is. Now, what if you are completely done? You are totally burnt out and ready to leave.
Okay.
You are at this specific networking event explicitly because you are trying to find a new job. How do you clearly say, I want to quit? In polite business language, the golden rule is that you never actually say the words, I want to quit to a professional contact. It sounds incredibly desperate, negative, and risky.
So what's the secret code?
You use a very specific professional euphemism. You say, I'm looking for a new opportunity.
I am looking for a new opportunity.
Yes. It is established corporate code. It clearly translates to, I am currently available for hire, but it frames that reality in a highly positive, forward-looking way.
It's genius because you aren't running away from your terrible old job. You're actively running towards something fresh and exciting.
That is a crucial psychological mindset shift. It makes you sound ambitious and driven rather than desperate and unhappy.
It totally protects your current reputation while effectively signaling to the room that you are on the open market. And it naturally invites the other person to try and help you out.
Exactly. The natural response to that is, oh, really? What kind of opportunity are you looking for?
I absolutely love that. It completely turns a negative situation wanting to leave into a positive conversation about growth.
It is a vital phrase to keep in your back pocket.
Okay, so we have talked extensively about the now, the present day. But a career is fundamentally a long journey. We all have a past and hopefully we all have a future. Let's talk about how to describe the career timeline.
Context is everything in a career. To truly understand who you are professionally today, people very often need to know where you came from. And you need the right grammar structures to tell that specific story effectively.
The source material gives us a highly specific grammar structure for talking about the past. And that structure is used to.
I used to work. This is the absolute standard structure for describing past habits, past routines, or past states of being that are categorically no longer true today.
Used to. So instead of just saying the simple past, I worked, you say I used to work. What is the emotional or narrative difference there?
Saying I worked is just placing a simple, isolated fact on a timeline. But saying I used to work strongly emphasizes the contrast between your past and your present.
Ah, I see.
It implicitly says to the listener, I did this thing back then, but I do something completely different and new now. It highlights change.
Let's look at the specific narrative arc example from the text. I used to work in a small cafe, but now I work in a large hotel.
Do you hear the clear contrast there? Small cafe versus large hotel.
The scale changed.
The insist to explicitly sets up that journey of growth. It shows forward progress in your career.
And it isn't just about passively listing your old job titles like a boring timeline, right? It's about highlighting the skills you gained, connecting the dots for the listener.
Yes, and this is absolutely critical for job interviews. You always want to logically bridge your past experiences to your present value.
So you don't just say, I used to pour coffee for minimum wage.
Never. You reframe it. You say, in my last job, I learned a tremendous amount about customer service and rapid teamwork.
So even if your literal task was just pouring hot coffee into cups, You professionally frame the experience as mastering the skill of customer service.
Exactly right. You actively extract the professional value from the past experience. You clearly demonstrate to the listener that your past roles directly prepared you for your future success.
Okay, now let's look forward. The future. The ultimate question that makes absolutely everyone sweat when they are sitting in a job interview.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yes. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It is such a massive, intimidating question.
It is the ultimate big picture test. And frankly, the secret is that the interviewer doesn't actually care exactly where you will physically be in 5 years.
They don't.
No, they use that question to find out what fundamental desires drive you forward.
That is so comforting to know. The source actually gives us 3 distinct, strategic ways to answer this terrifying question, depending entirely on your actual personality.
Method number 1 focuses on goals. This approach is highly effective for the truly ambitious, career-driven individuals.
The text example is, I want to become an expert in my field.
An expert. That is an incredibly strong, confident claim to make.
It doesn't sound arrogant.
No, because it shows deep focus. It shows that you are dedicated to mastering your specific craft over time. It clearly tells the employer that you take your career path seriously.
Okay, method number 2 focuses on dreams. This one feels a bit more personal to me, maybe a bit more tailored to a modern Gen Z mindset.
It is entirely about prioritizing lifestyle and personal fulfillment. The example provided is, my dream job is to travel the world while working.
Ah, yes, the ultimate digital nomad dream.
It is a massively popular goal right now, and this honest answer tells people exactly what deeply motivates you. Personal freedom, global travel, and unique life experiences.
I imagine it might not be the absolute best answer to give if you are interviewing for a highly strict in-office corporate banking job, though.
Probably not, but it is a fantastically honest and engaging answer if you are talking to a fellow freelancer or networking in a creative industry.
Fair point. And method number 3 focuses on learning.
This approach is entirely about continuous self-improvement. The phrasing is, I want to improve my communication skills.
That feels like a very humble, very grounded, growth-oriented answer.
It absolutely is. It clearly shows that you are a lifelong learner. And employers absolutely love hearing this type of answer because it signals that you are highly coachable.
You aren't claiming to know everything already.
Exactly. It means you openly acknowledge that you aren't perfect yet, but you have a strong, proactive desire to put in the work to get there.
So whether your true inner goal is to be a master expert, a world traveler, or just a better communicator, you now have a solid grammatical template for that answer. You never have to just sit there and stare blankly at the interviewer again.
Exactly. You are confidently defining your own professional trajectory.
Okay, we are officially in the home stretch of this deep dive. We have meticulously built this amazing professional persona today.
We have covered a lot of ground.
We have the right title, we can describe our routine, we know the survival vocab, and we have our future goals articulated. We sound absolutely great. But there is one major social trap that enthusiastic learners often fall into here.
The dreaded monologue trap.
Yes, the monologue trap. You spend so much time studying, and you get so excited that you finally know exactly how to say all this impressive stuff in English, that you end up just talking at the person for 10 straight minutes.
You essentially just verbally dump your entire resume on the poor person who is just standing there holding a warm beer.
Exactly, and you can physically see it happening. The other person's eyes start to glaze over, and they start desperately scanning the room, looking for the closest exit.
It happens all the time. But a good conversation is fundamentally a two-way street. We have to keep the energy flowing back and forth.
It's exactly like a game of tennis. You hit the ball over the net, but then you absolutely have to wait for them to hit it back.
That is the perfect analogy. You have to pass the conversational ball back to them. If you just stand there holding the ball, the entire game stops.
So, what are some of the strategic questions we can confidently ask the other person to make sure we aren't just giving a tedious speech about ourselves? How do we smoothly turn the spotlight back onto them?
The source material gives us 3 excellent, open-ended questions for this exact scenario. First one is, what do you enjoy most about your job?
Oh, I really like that one. It forces the other person to focus on something positive.
It really does. It instantly shifts the entire energetic tone of the conversation up. Instead of asking the standard, dry, what do you do, asking what do you enjoy, actually invites them to share their passion.
It gives them a socially acceptable opening to brag a little bit about their wins.
Exactly. And human psychology dictates that people absolutely love to talk about the things they excel at and love doing.
Okay, second strategic question. How long have you worked there?
This is a highly classic, safe, fact-finding question. It helps you quickly gauge their seniority and their overall experience level in their industry.
So if they say, oh, I've been there for 10 years, you immediately know they are very established and probably have a lot of institutional knowledge.
Right. And if they reply, actually, I just started 2 weeks ago, you can instantly bond with them over the shared chaotic feeling of being the new person in the office.
And the third question, which I personally think is the most interesting one on the list, what is the most interesting part of your day?
This is a truly fantastic alternative to the standard "what do you do?" Instead of asking for a boring job description, it specifically asks them to share a highlight reel. It asks them for a story.
What is the most interesting part of your day? That could genuinely lead to some really cool, unexpected answers. Maybe they say, oh, the free catered lunch is amazing. Or maybe they say, finally landing a massive client after months of pitching or solving a massive technical crisis at the last minute.
Asking these types of specific, engaging questions proves that you possess active listening skills. It clearly demonstrates that you are genuinely interested in them as a human being, not just in selfishly practicing your own English vocabulary.
And at the end of the day, that is what actually makes you a highly memorable conversationalist. Being interesting to others is mostly just about being genuinely interested in them.
That is an absolute truth in any language.
Absolutely. People are going to remember how you made them feel during the conversation, not necessarily what specific verb tense you used. If you make them feel fascinating and heard, they are going to walk away thinking you are an absolute genius.
That is very true.
So let's take a moment to quickly recap this incredible journey we've been on. We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We started by laying the solid foundation of your professional identity, moving from the basic "I am a teacher" to the slightly more distant and professional "I work as a designer."
And we mastered the surprisingly subtle psychological signaling behind getting that tiny little A versus N rule right,
We then progressed through how to effectively describe the daily grind.
using the present simple tense to demonstrate that we are reliable and stable. I start, I check, I manage.
And leveraging that highly effective narrative structure, a typical day looks like, to weave a compelling story about your actual routine.
We carefully navigated the very confusing modern office landscape.
Clarifying the critical differences between remote and hybrid work, understanding the intense noise of open spaces, and recognizing the distinct cultural difference between formal and informal corporate vibes.
We successfully survived the mandatory vocabulary check.
Grasping the true urgency behind the word deadline, respecting the subtle hierarchy between a general coworker and a respected colleague, and most importantly, understanding that the client is the one who pays the bills.
We got a little emotional and vulnerable talking about actual job satisfaction.
Using words like rewarding to show deep purpose, acknowledging that being stressful just shows you work hard, and learning the ultimate polite exit strategy when you are ready to quit looking for a new opportunity.
And finally, we mapped out our entire career timeline, moving from acknowledging our past growth with "I used to work" to confidently stating our future ambitions with "my dream job is."
It really is a highly comprehensive, powerful linguistic toolkit. If you diligently put all these specific pieces together, you are no longer just a nervous language learner struggling to survive a basic introduction.
You transform into a confident professional, actively sharing your unique story. You take total control of your own narrative.
That is the ultimate goal of mastering this material. So here is our final challenge for you, the person listening right now.
We definitely don't want you to just nod along passively while you wash the dishes. We want you to actively use this information today.
Application is the only key to retention. Accumulating knowledge without actually practicing it out loud is just collecting trivia.
I want you to actively practice describing your own current job, right now in your head, or better yet, out loud if you are alone in the car or the shower. And I challenge you to use at least 3 brand new words or phrases from this deep dive.
Try seamlessly working in words like deadline, rewarding, and hybrid into one cohesive thought.
Or maybe try practicing with manage, freelancer, and flexible hours. See how they feel rolling off your tongue.
Pick the 3 specific terms that most accurately fit your daily reality. Build your own sentences. Say them out loud multiple times.
And the very next time someone walks up to you at a crowded party and casually asks, "So what do you do? Please don't freeze up." Don't let the panic take over.
Take a calm breath, remember the powerful I work as structure, maybe confidently throw in a typical day looks like, and completely own that interaction.
You absolutely have the tools now. You just have to trust them.
Which leaves us with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over before we go.
Oh, I love a provocative thought. Lay it on me.
We spend so much time and energy obsessively crafting the perfect English sentences to try and impressively describe our jobs to other people.
True.
But I wonder, does the specific vocabulary we actively choose to use eventually end up rewriting how we actually feel about those jobs ourselves?
Oh, wow. That is deep.
If you consciously force yourself to start describing your daily grind as challenging but rewarding instead of just exhausting, do you eventually actually start believing it? Does the language shape the reality?
That is a fascinating question to leave everyone with. Words really do create worlds. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into job talk. I honestly feel more professional just having discussed all of this. I literally feel like I need to go aggressively update my LinkedIn profile right this second.
It was an absolute pleasure. There is always more nuance to uncover and learn.
Go out there, claim your professional identity, and impress someone today. See you all in the next deep dive.
Goodbye and good luck.